What's up, fish fam? So today we're gonna feed all of my fish that I have right now. And the feeding that I'm gonna do today is basically just my run-of-the-mill everyday feeding, something, everybody gets their staple type stuff. I do random different feedings throughout the month, but this is just like my regular. So these are microworms. I use a little paintbrush to scrape them off the side, and it's really gross, but it looks like this. That's just a big old nasty clump of worms. And this is what I'm going to feed all of these baby bettas. So I bred my bettas so that I could get the bat points, and now I'm dealing with the containers. So basically what I do is I just dip that in there, and some microworms fall down in there because there's one baby betta per container here. Some of them are bigger, some of them are littler. They grow at different rates depending on the water volume and blah blah blah. There's a lot of information in breeding bettas, and I am not an expert. This is the first time I've ever done it. But yeah, so basically this little brush gets dipped in here, and I'm not worried about biosecurity in here because everything's already quarantined. And then to get the excess water off, I just brush it on this piece of foam, fuzz, whatever, that I use to give them some air. And I grab some more worms, just like this. Just like that. And do the rest of them. I think I've got like right under 30 at this point of these baby bettas. So this takes me about 5 minutes a day. That first one got way too much food, but they get a water change every couple of days just so that I can clean out any uneaten food and they can have some more water, because more water changes means more growth. And I usually have to reload this paintbrush 3 times. So this is the third reload. We'll wipe off the excess water so that that doesn't get into my culture. I don't know if that's good or not, but I've got OCD, so that's what I do. And grab some more worms and feed the rest of these bettas. Boom, 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 boom. That's how we do it. This is how we do it. So I usually feed out all the rest of these, and then I kind of dunk this paintbrush to make sure I got all the worms off of it. Shake it off. It sits up here, close this, sit that up there, and that's bettas fed. So then we move on to everything that eats bloodworms. So I buy my bloodworms usually from Brine Shrimp Direct. I buy in bulk because I feed a lot of bloodworms. So this is the ropefish pond. We're going to do 6 cubes of bloodworms in the ropefish pond because there are 6 ropefish. On an everyday staple, they get 1 cube each. I occasionally will feed them, they'll eat isopods and stuff off the top, but I'll occasionally feed them other things, like worms and stuff, so we throw those in there. Bloodworms are on number 2. I need 3 cubes to feed this knife fish and the bashirs that are in here. They all like that, so this tank is kind of a community. It gets a bunch of things. And then we need 2 cubes for the 3 puffer fish, and they'll come straight up for it. There's 2 of them. I don't know where the third one is. Where are you? There you are. There you are. Okay, so 3 puffer fish, 2 cubes of bloodworms. Got that down. They're going to enjoy it. And then we do 1 cube of bloodworms for the axolotl. He's very lazy. He's over there. And we do 7 cubes of bloodworms for the ropefish that are in quarantine in the little pond. And we'll watch them eat for a minute because that's a lot of fun. So 7 cubes going in. Here you go, guys. That's my favorite. And the reason these ropefish are so tame is because they get played with every day by me and a 5-year-old and anybody else that comes to my house, because there's nothing cooler than a ropefish touch pond. Because it's like little water dragons in your hands. Sorry about the glare. This tank always has a glare on it because the lights for my 50 lowboy are right above it, which is why it's such a pain to film in here. Because glare everywhere. So yeah, they get crazy about the bloodworms. They're nice to each other, but they do fight over them. Worst glare, trying to fight the glare, not being able to fight the glare, giving up. There we go. You can see them better this way anyways. So yeah, seven ropefish, 7 cubes of bloodworms. Everybody gets 1. I'm sure the smaller ones don't eat all of it, but the bigger ones take over it. And there's also snails in all of my systems, which will take care of any overfeeding that happens. Snails are kind of my canary in the coal mine. They tell me if I'm overfeeding, underfeeding, how the water quality is, if there's enough KH, GH, you can tell by their shells. I find snails to be probably the most beneficial thing you can have in your aquarium, but that is just my opinion. Anyways, moving on. So, Massivore Delight. This is a Hikari food. This is what I feed my Bashirs so that I don't run out of bloodworms every 5 seconds. So, because this Platinum Senegalis in here is a overeater, we put 10 of these in this tank every day. And that will feed the Platinum, the Albino, and the regular Bashir. Plus some, because we usually end up with a bunch of snails in this tank. Definitely a heavy snail tank. But she'll eat like 3 or 4 of those, which is ridiculous. That's so much food. Anyways, so I've still got 5 of these Massivore Delight pellets, and they're going to go in here for the Ornate Bashir and the Longfin Senegalis Bashir. And they will find those in the back there. There's the Ornata Pinus right there. And it is getting big. All the Bashirs are getting a upgrade on their tanks into the next week or 2 when I get that 125 over here. I've got all the stuff to move it. It's happening. So then we move on to algae wafers. And we put like usually 3 or 4 in here for those big plecos to munch on. And then this is a 40-gallon shrimp tank. It gets 2 algae wafers. And we keep moving on, and this is my mixed color Neocaridina 50 lowboy, and it gets basically an algae wafer and a, half algae wafer and a chunk. And then down here I've got a 10-gallon quarantine tank, and it's got some plecos in it, so it's going to get half an algae wafer. And then we move on to this little community tank here. It has some reticulated hillstream loaches, tiger or reticulated, I can't remember, hillstream loaches, and a bunch of giant rabbit snails, so they get some algae wafer in there. And then poorly filmed here, but that's my pleco breeding tank, so they get some algae wafers. I will usually add something else to that tank as well, green beans, anything random, they'll eat anything. And then down here is my giant snail tank, and he gets 1 algae wafer a day. And there he is, he's ginormous if you see him up there in the left-hand corner of the tank. And then we move on past the algae wafers. So next up, we're going to grab this API tropical pellets. These are the bigger tropical pellets. And this is what I feed to my rainbow fish. So rainbow fish get some of that. And there they are. And then I've got a few more rainbow fish and some denison barbs that are over in this tank over here. So we're going to feed them some of that because they're a little bit bigger, so they get the bigger pellets. And that's Wags right there, still doing awesome. And then we'll move on from the bigger pellets to the smaller tropical pellets. These are the mini tropical pellets. And that is what we're going to go ahead and feed to my splash tetras. So this is my 20 long that has the splash tetras in it. And they're kind of skittish. They'll come out a little bit. This camera work is really rough, feeding with only one hand. But anyway, so those float a little bit. They usually sink down. And then there's also, so there's a splash tetra. They're coming out. they're gonna come out a little bit. There's also like autocinkless and a mono shrimp and some cory cats in here, so they'll eat those mini pellets too. So that's pretty much what that tank gets. And then we move on with the mini pellets to feeding the female and the male betta. So it's a male half moon and a female koi Nemo half moon. That's the parents of the ones in the back. And then last but not least, well, not last, but we got to feed the baby rainbow fish that are everywhere. So I got a bunch of them that are in this 50 low boy. So that, and this is Aquarium Co-op's for easy fry food. I love this stuff. It's basically what I want to feed all my baby fish. So there's babies up here in this 20 long. Those are baby rainbow fish. And then down here in this 10 gallon, there are more baby rainbow fish. If anybody would like some baby rainbow fish, I have some baby rainbow fish. Those are Lake Kumari, Melanitania parva rainbow fish. All of them. If you want some, hit me up. Anyways, so last thing we got to do is the crab tank. So we got to feed the crabs. So in here are baby vampire crabs, and I just put the food down here in this little bowl. It's a sinking food. These are just baby crabs that were born at Aquatic Arts that I brought home to raise up. So there you can see one there. They're really hard to find because they're good at hiding, and this tank is a massive jungle. It's basically just got a little bit of water in it that runs through a reptile, like a turtle filter over the top of those rocks. It makes like a little waterfall, and there's, you know, pothos and wood, and there's another crab. But yeah, so raising those up until they grow up big enough to sell, and then I don't know what I'm going to do with this tank. Maybe newts, maybe not, I don't know. So this is my fish room. I got the crab tank there, axolotl tanks over here. Those are the living room tanks. And then you move into the dining room, which is basically my fish room. And that's where the majority of my tanks are at, and all my big racks, the 50 low boy, ropefish quarantine. And then my kitchen has these 240 breeders in it. And then the back in my mud room, or my laundry room, is where I have my giant pond. All those baby bettas are in my bedroom. And thanks for stopping by and helping me feed my fish. Later! Oh yeah, and I also forgot. Live your best life. Sit. Sit. Everest. Sit. 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 Good girl. Hey, sit. No, that's stand. You gotta sit. Hey, sit. Sit. Oh. Your kid did something. Alright, let's go check.